Thank you for tuning in to the Get Up and Scale podcast. Today we have Kevin ONeil on. We discuss his break into the software as service industry on the water sports side of things and all of the sales, management, and operational techniques he took from his B2C businesses. We also learn about his backstory. He's got an interesting one. Let's listen.
I gotta work, grind. That's just the way it is. I gotta get up, scale, and grow my biz. I gotta scale, grow, get up, go, scale, grow, get up, go.
Yeah, let's talk about Kevin ONeil. He's the proprietor of Destiny Water Sports, the premier. What? You're shaking your head?
Water Adventures.
My company, Destiny Water Adventures.
Come on now.
Destiny Water Adventures, the premier water sport rental business in the Destin market. He's also the founder of Boat Test.
TakeMyBoatTest.com.
TakeMyBoatTest.com. Justin, you sound like you'd be a good candidate for this introduction.
Hey, I at least do my research, okay? on my guest.
I've only known
going on
I've only known Kevin and talked to him for a while. And,
He's got me in a CRM. It's like, I don't even know who this guy is.
Kevin has more things on his resume than a CVS receipt, okay?
Yeah.
So he's got a lot to remember. But tell us everything that you've got going on right now, because I know we've got Take My Boat Test, we've got Destiny Water Adventures, we've got the Jeep rentals, we've got consulting going on now too, right? Like, tell us everything that you've got going on.
You introduce yourself, Kevin.
Yeah, that's easier.
Yeah, guys. Well, thanks for having me. My name's Kevin ONeil. As you guys mentioned, I have a couple of businesses. Destiny Water Adventures was my first business, and which I still sort of run, not really, but I got a couple hustles, and then most recently, Take My Boat Test, which is a boater education platform that right now our first market's Florida, but we'll be expanding across all 50 states, offering education to the boating masses. And if it's fun and it seems interesting, I do it. We do some event rentals, and we do some Jeeps and vans and some cars. Yeah, we started off with the Jeeps because it seemed kind of like it would be fun and interesting, and then we kind of commodified that a little bit and broke into some different vehicle classes. And then in Destiny Water Adventures here in Fort Walton Beach, Florida, we do boats and jet skis and tours and all the stuff that comes with the Florida water sports scene. And I also do a podcast as well, and I also host an event for the water sports industry every year. So I wear a lot of hats.
Yeah,
sounds busy.
It's exhausting just listening to all that stuff.
Yeah.
I forgot about the bounce houses, dude.
Yeah.
When did that start?
Yeah, so the bounce houses, was sort of just like born out of like, it was kind of like a gag at first. Like I didn't really want to do it, but I'm like, you know what?
So funny.
Nothing seems like fun or like a little troll on myself, like dropping $100,000 on bounce houses and all the infrastructure for it. And I got this crazy, like, those goofy, like, local business guys that have like their character. That's all I wanted was a caricature drawing of myself. I could have gone to the Destin Harbor and got it for $8, Yeah, big top bounce. I bought bigtopbounce.com for like a ridiculous amount of money just because I wanted Big Top Bounce, because I wanted to have something to do with like just circus and frivolity and craziness.
Yeah.
But yeah, what happened was
There we go.
Oh yeah, Big Kev's Big Top Bounce.
Big Kev.
There it is, dude. Yeah, so
Nice.
great, dude. It's my daughter. Cool. It's just like we're renting them every year for my kids, and I most recently had a son. He's about to turn 3, so I was like, you know what? Some people buy their kids buy a jet ski for their family. I buy a jet ski business.
Yeah, so you get free stuff for your kids, basically.
it doesn't return, if it doesn't ROI, you know, my wife's like, "Oh, we're gonna put a pool in here," and I'm like, God, it only adds 5% to the total overall value of the house, you know.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm such a curmudgeon sometimes, but yeah. So the bounce house was like, it really was his boredom. Yeah. I mean, we're gonna roll with it. We have a little small warehouse, and there was still some space in there, much to my our ops manager's chagrin. I just like filled it with more crap, you know. He's like, "Come on, dude, like really?" But yeah, we were on the heels of getting the boat test thing. It has been like a journey getting off the ground. Yeah. And so I was just itching, you know, like I was like, you know, those new venture vibes when you're like, you're in startup mode.
It's the best.
And you're just like, yeah, it's the best feeling, man, you know? So I was watching everybody around me like get after it and go into these conferences and stuff. And I really wanted, you know, I just wanted that feeling again, that new love, you know? And so, yeah, I went and bought a bunch of bounce houses.
And it's doing good?
It's crazy.
It's whatever. It does what it does. It's so cold. You know what I mean? Like, and if it can do a few bucks in the off season or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, we actually take my boat test, like finally got live, and now I'm like, woo! You know, yeah. So I'm like, I got like I got like pipe drive, and like all
Kevin,
this stuff for
our thousands of listeners.
Yeah,
you know, our huge listener base needs to know. Tell us about the boat test. Take my boat test. How long?
Yeah, you got.
Tell them what it is, and then how long you've been working on this. I feel like it's been a long time.
It's been like 2 years, almost. Yeah. So to the point of the show, yeah, we got a fun. Everyone loves bounce houses. Everyone is always like, "Does that make money?" And I'm like, "No, it's awful. Don't do it. Bad idea." Yeah. So we got this. I got this idea like a while ago. I was like in the middle of doing the pods, you know, and I was like. I was signed up with this other company, and I was like, man, I'm like, how hard can this possibly be, you know? And so we reached out to our state, Florida Fish and Wildlife, and we started the process with them. And I was like, look, I'm not super interested in NASBLA. I'm more so NASBLA is a National Association of Safe Boating Law Administrators.
Okay.
And this gives you the ability to offer the test across all 50 states. I was more interested in, so Florida has a temporary test for recreational boaters. If you're getting on anything with over 10 horsepower or more, you have to have a boat license ostensibly. So if you're born after January 1st, 1988 specifically, a lot of states have these laws. They're usually meant for younger people, but once those laws get put into place, once that date gets put into place, it just stays there, right? So they want kids that are like 14, 15, 16 that are legally allowed to operate jets, PWC, and boats. They want them to have some kind of education. Mm-hmm. So when they rolled this date out, like it just kind of stayed there. So now it's kind of like stuck, right? They actually want to roll it back and start making everybody do it. But anyway, so Florida specifically has this what's called a TC, or temporary certificate, and I really wanted to get involved in that, mostly because it is scalable. It's a little bit more B2B. You know, most of your traffic comes through partnerships with operators that sell your test, and you know, it kind of was on brand for me. I'd been doing the podcast, and I just sort of like been beating the drum of safety for a long time. I'd actually written a study guide for the temporary certificate long before we ever had the concept of turning it into a business, because as somebody who's a livery in the state of Florida, rents boats and jet skis, you're a livery provider, or temporary test provider. You get like a state issued number and you can offer this test, right? But it's not for sale to the general public. So it's not like I can offer it to Get Up and Go or Tour Scale and you guys can, you know, sell it on my behalf or whatever. So when we first got our livery permit and they started giving us these tests, I was like, where's the study guide? And they're like, no study guide. I'm like, what do you mean no study guide? They're just like, yeah, you give them, there's a randomized questions. You get like, they have to get, there's 26 of them out of like 50 or whatever it was. And you just give them the test and they got to get multiple choice and get like 80% right, or they can get 6 wrong, whatever it was. I'm like, yeah, but I'm like so confused. How could you just give them the answers? Yeah. Like, yeah, you can just give them all the answers and then they can look at it and then they got to put the answers away. And then they got to take the test. You know, so I was like, oh, that's ridiculous. You know, we need some like real. So I actually wrote a study guide. So like in practicality, this made sense. So it was just something I was always into. Like I wanted to keep my customers in one piece. I wanted to keep my gear in one piece. And so something that I started to see like over and over again was this lack of education, not just on the part of the people operating the equipment, but the livery operator, right? Yeah. Because anybody can just go out, if you got enough money, you can go out and buy 5-10 jet skis or a few boats and you spin up a business, right? And it's like, I had, well over 10,000 hours behind the wheel of a boat commercially. I was a parasail captain in Key West for many years. And, you know, so seeing this sort of stuff in real time, people doing crazy stuff like operators, you know, I'm like, dude, what are you doing, man? Like, why are you doing that? You know, like, what are you telling your guys? Like, just watching guys that can't even drive boats and they're working for the operators. So what we wanted to do was not only just give this test for the people at large, but we're, you know, creating like real strategic partnerships with the operators as a pathway to best practices, because there's just nothing in the industry for
you actually care about the safety part of this. It's not just a check the box thing for these other companies. Like, hey, we're just going to get your customers through the door, get this done as quick as possible and get them on the boat. And it's like, you guys are like, we actually care that this matters and that this is impacting the safety of the services.
Well, when you stand in front of, or, you know, when you have multiple jurisdictional entities with different regulatory bodies breathing down your neck, when insurance is constantly going through the roof, like, I mean, it has been a legislative battle, because after COVID, as you guys well know, in 2021, 2022, water sports in the state of Florida skyrocketed. And so with that, you had a lot of inexperienced operators, and then all of this, you know, all of these accidents, and so there was this jump to regulate, and it just happened at like every level. Here in North Florida, it happened at the county. Like, we have 3 separate regulatory from the county to the city of Destin and the city of Fort Walton Beach, with all within 5 miles of each other. They all have their own regulations, and then we have state regulations, and then we have that's governed by, and we have federal regulations. You have U.S. Coast Guard. You have all these different regulatory bodies. So all of this happens so fast. And I'd always been a very safe operator. I mean, look, man, when you drive a parasail boat, there's state laws on the books for parasailing that you can be found criminally negligent and go to prison if somebody dies in your sail, or, you know. So it's just something that's always been a hallmark of everything that I've done, not just for my customers or for my business, but my own sense of self-preservation, if I'm being completely transparent. Yeah, so, you know, it's a lot. There's a huge storied history behind it, but I mean, also too, the piece of it that was really and is really exciting and also disconcerting, and I'm sitting in your guys' chair, I'm calling up basically me, you know, trying to pitch me on something, and it's like, that's a tough business, man. Especially like, I mean, I can't even imagine on the franchise side when you're like, franchise fees, and they're like,
yeah, people love giving you money and then having to pay a percentage of their business for the rest of their life. It's an easy sell. Yeah, I mean, I don't even sell anything to this guy. I'm like, hey, man, you can increase your bottom line revenue, and we're a great asset, and we're here stateside, and I'm an operator like you, and they're just like, it's not worth my time. It's like it's free money though. Yeah. It's just like a couple extra grand a year. All you got to do is switch 2 links. I'm like, I hate you, burn in hell. Where did you get my number? Yeah,
Like, I'll fuck you up, man. I'll show up to your place and smack the hell out of you, buddy.
Well, I think I've identified your problem, Kevin, with these sales calls.
The
threats of violence is a very hard sell.
Yeah, no, not if you're door knocking, not if you're doing it solar style.
Kevin, it gives you a whole new respect for like these booking systems and, like you said, like us, like the franchises, reaching out to these. And as you know, by doing this now, a lot of the numbers you're calling for these boat operators, normally it's like the captain's cell phone. Like I cold called, fishing charters for like a year, and like it's crazy. They're like backing in the boat talking to you. So.
Yeah, and they're like, I hate you. Why are you calling me?
So this is, at its heart though, this is a software business, right? Like you had to go through a software development process. Obviously your distribution model is, I got to get these partnerships with all these boat tour operators. And, when you sat and looked at the business plan, right, and decided whether you're going to do this or not, what pushed you over the edge? What made you decide to jump in? Was it, you thought with your connections in the industry and the podcast, you would have the network to leverage? Was that like the key part of your business plan here?
Yeah, absolutely. And also there's a B2C component because for the operator, right, it's just an affiliate link. Yeah. And the majority of the temporary Florida certificate, but the lifetime product is B2C. So obviously I've experienced in that with our business and running ads and SEO and doing that sort of stuff. But it was that I did want a business of scale, right? And boat rentals and jet skis and that sort of thing. Like service, unless it's SaaS, it's hard to scale, man. Tell me the world's largest roofing company, right, or the largest plumber, right? Like brick and mortar service is just. It's really, really hard. Like, luckily we have a product that's fun, right? That's like boating and jet skiing. Like, I hope that never goes away. But man, the day that you have that, like a VR suit and you can just go to Crab Island from your couch, man, like Justin Buzzy's kids they're gonna be like, no way, man. So
that's right.
No, it was like I doing the pod was like, it was just a passion project, but getting in there and mixing it up, I mean, of course, man. I was like, oh God, I was watching you guys at Arrival and sponsoring the thing and getting in there and mixing up and like doing real business because look, man, like everybody and their brother wants to put on that entrepreneur hat and say like, oh, I'm a CEO, I'm a founder, like this and this and that. And it's like, what did you do? Like, I have a hot dog stand, dude. What are you the CEO of? Like, you know what I mean? Like I could, even if this thing was to like go parabolic, like I realize like, who I am and what I am, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think at this point in my career I could run $100 million company. I don't know that I could sit in an executive chair. But to that point, this particular product, for me, it was just like the stars aligned. It was like I said, it was on brand. I had built up a network. I was not doing anything to sell anybody on anything. I was just as, Justin's a huge fan of Gary Vee, and Gary Vee always talks about providing value. And I honestly was just providing value because I wanted to be a part of a community as like entrepreneur, business owner. It's like you go home with your wife and kids, you're not really a part of a community, right? You're a community of one. Yeah. And the podcast was just an opportunity for me to like, learn more, provide value to people that knew less than I did, to have you guys on that, when you came on and did the show, I was like, oh my God, this guy's so smart. Talking to guys, talking to guys at Arrival and some of these guys who run SaaS companies. It's just like, I was this guy with a boat and a jet ski. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, but no, you were like, I could.
Functional illiterate.
You obviously said, I could do that, right? I
mean, yes and no, because I'm like, man, I just felt like I had a lot to learn.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've got a lot to learn before I put that kind of hat on. But it's like when the idea, right, when the bulb, the thing that you're so excited about, when it's like, oh my God, like, I'm not just being called to do this. This is being like put on a platter in front of me. Like, I'd be a maniac not to do this. So it's like, if we're going to figure it out, so, and it's been interesting. Luckily my business partner on this, Steven Edwards, and, I have another partner, who's with me in Destiny, Ilya, are both really smart guys on the tech side. And,
so Steven Edwards is one of the partners in the boat test company.
Yes. Yeah, he is. Because he was the first one I called. I was like, man, I have no idea. Like, I have no idea how to do this. Yeah. And I knew that, like, trying to figure out how, like, course creation and all of this stuff, like, I would need it done at, like, a snap of a finger. So I was kind of like, and I like partnerships. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's always like partnerships feel, they feel good. And him and I had been talking about spinning up something together. And I was like, I call him up and I'm like, I got it. I'm like, but we gotta, like, we gotta get this done fast, like, it's gotta be done quick. And then NASBA and FWC were like, no, this is gonna take a lifetime.
Mm-hmm. So Kevin, who's got the worst rental drivers? Is it Key West or is it Crab Island?
So data-wise, it would suggest that it's Monroe County. So where Key West lies in Monroe County. Actually, North Florida, Okaloosa County falls at 6. We're ranked 6 for the amount of accidents, which is really, it's surprising for me because Key West is like this big and it's a massive ocean. There's like, you would think that we had more accidents because everything's so much more consolidated. Yeah. No, Monroe's number 1. I think Miami-Dade is number 2.
That makes sense.
No shock there. So a lot of accidents in Florida, man. But speaking to that though, this was another piece that like really impassioned me, was that once we started digging into the data, it wasn't us. Like the data showed that the largest constituency of purveyors of accidents are actually middle-aged men, like of 50 and above, with that claim to have over 100 hours of boating experience. This is not a guy who's like, man, I've been renting boats and jet skis since I was a young whippersnapper. Yeah. Like, these are boat owners. Yeah. These are jet ski owners.
Overconfidence.
So when 100%, man. Like, when you put somebody on a jet ski who's it's their first time, they're scared. Like, don't get me wrong. They can bust some shit up themselves for sure. Yeah. But there's nothing in the data that showed that our sector was overwhelmingly at fault for the majority of the accidents. But it didn't stop. It didn't stop legislation from coming in and being like, you know what we need? Everybody to be educated. Just kidding. Everybody needs to have insurance. Like, no. No, don't make them smarter voters. Make them insured.
Yeah, right. So how do you look at the difference between like your asset heavy businesses and now Take My Boat Test, which isn't too asset heavy? Like, did you kind of look at that going into it? Do you love the asset heavy businesses? Like,
no. I love tons of overhead, man.
I'm like, I'm thinking,
give me 10% margins.
But a lot of them, until Take My Boat Test, have been asset heavy. So I'm like, what's the strategy there behind going asset heavy compared to not?
Well, asset heavy is like it's awesome when you need tax write-offs. Let me explain to you how many write-offs I have for like a boat test email.
Yeah, right.
0. I'm like, I'm like, what do I do?
You're gonna have to
buy an office building.
You're gonna have to start paying taxes, Kevin.
I pay taxes. I don't know what you're talking about. Justin's point. So you have like heavily. It's not even just asset heavy; it's depreciating asset heavy.
Yeah.
Like boats are like, and we're year by year going to start seeing that party comes into the accelerated depreciation, accelerated bonus depreciation.
Yeah, 179.
Yeah, it's unfortunately gonna. Maybe we'll see. We'll see what happens in November.
I think they'll renew it. Yeah, but
it would be great.
Let's talk tax policy in the next legislative session. I'm joking.
Oh, I thought you meant like right now. I'm like, yeah, let's go, dude. I'm really prepared.
Me too.
Well, see you later. I don't know anything about taxes. I got an accountant for that.
Hey, Kevin, I'm actually curious. I don't think I know your original origin story. Like how?
Well, I was in I was in this lab filled with spiders. Then my uncle Ben died, and I was like, no.
I never knew that.
Born in Detroit.
Your basic click funnels, attractive character. If I did it, so can you. It's so ridiculous. Like, man. I mean, I did all the dumb stuff, got into a ton of trouble. Don't let the neck tattoos fool you. I did not graduate from an Ivy League college. Man, I'm your basic, come from nothing, got really lucky. Been super fortunate. Lost my job in 2008. I was just a knucklehead ditch digger in Detroit.
You were literally a ditch digger?
Job. Yeah, I was a plumber.
Oh,
I wasn't even
a plumber.
I wasn't even a plumber, like a plumber's helper.
Oh, okay.
So I was literally a ditch digger.
Yeah.
I used to be out there with a pickaxe, man, carrying like gravel over pipes.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was awful, man. And I lost my job, thank God, in 2008. And one of my business partners on the boats, Alphonse, had a parasail boat in Key West, and he offered me a gig working on his boat. I never even really been on a boat. Like, to be honest, I don't do boats for fun. That's not like my thing. Like, if I ever like be like super wealthy, like you wouldn't catch me like, wow, I'm gonna get a yacht.
Yeah.
Patrick Coughlin.
Yeah, I was gonna say Patrick out there and his. I've been.
But then I probably wouldn't get anything like that. To be, if I'm being.
It's a nice boat. I've been on it. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, I'd get like a patch of forestry or something and go high. But yeah, so I ended up on the parasail boat in Key West for 10 years. And it was the same thing, man. I came up here I wanted to get in a more family-friendly environment for my kids. Key West is just kind of like, a lot of heavy drinking and partying and stuff like that, which I, definitely partook in quite a bit. And we came up here, and I was actually looking for a job. I was like, I'll just drive a parasail boat and have the winters off or whatever. And oh my God, these websites are awful. Like, you know what I mean? And there was all like their marketing was all like, don't do this and don't do that, and arguing. And then I started like reading the reviews, and they're like, we hate you. And I was like, God, man, you guys are so like hot and sweaty and mean up here, man. Like, I'm pretty sure I could fuck with this. You know what I mean? So we started a trip up here called Day of Play, which was like the South Florida style of like water sports. It's kind of like you kind of package everything up and then sell a seat, sell a ticket. And we started off on a pontoon boat, and then we like overtook this island. There's this awesome island out in the Sound. And I won't go into the whole lengthy portion, but I ended up getting kicked out. And they were like, the Chamber of Commerce got a hold of me and was like, hey, they're kind of wrapping you into the whole like Crab Island situation. The Crab Island's like heavily, it was like a hot button issue up here. And they're like, yeah, I think they're gonna like ban you from the island, or you can't do your trip out on the island. Cause I had like inflatables. You can actually, if you go and look up Destiny Water Adventures, and if you scroll down to like, maybe it's a second page, it's there's a video out there. Do Destiny Water Adventures Wear TV. Yeah. WEAR TV. If you're gonna pull
it up, Brett.
There's a video, and I'm like out there setting up stuff, and they're like, local businessman Kevin ONeil hates our community.
Oh God!
Like, what? Oh, WEAR. And it's like Pensacola TV. Yeah, baby. Well, it's hard, man, when you got that sweet SEO juice. There you go. Yeah, there you go. Any one of those. Oh, no, not that top. Commissioner concerned for the.
You're not the shark. You're not the shark one.
No. Commissioner concerned. This is great. Yeah.
I bet those big crowds and floating.
Look at this thing. It's so good.
Restaurants. Reports of a water sports business moving to a quiet island in Santa Rosa Sound. Channel 3 rode along as an Okaloosa County Commissioner went to investigate.
In the middle of the Santa Rosa Sound near Hurlburt Field, there are several man-made islands. They've long been a quiet hideaway for locals. Now it appears the secret's out.
The biggest concern is really because of the experience we've had with Crab Island. what started out very small, maybe a boiled peanut vendor and an ice cream boat, turned into a much larger, expansive commercial enterprise. What's going on over here?
Commissioner Trey Goodwin hit the water with an Okaloosa deputy to see what's going on.
Hopefully the Crab Island doesn't eventually move over here like what you were saying, how you came over here to get away from it all.
They found Destiny Water Adventures.
I don't do business at Crab Island because people are getting killed at Crab Island.
Owner Kevin ONeil brings people over in pontoon boats. Then they can rent jet skis and paddle boards.
Here's all my documentation.
He didn't like any of this.
I'm licensed. I've got National Seashore. I've contacted Hurlburt. I've contacted the county.
ONeil says he's done his best to operate legally, and he closely watches his customers to make sure they stay safe.
No, they're coming in the morning, setting up. They've been pretty good about cleaning up.
For neighbors and Commissioner Goodwin, the concern doesn't seem to be what they see now. It's what might happen in the future.
It's reminiscent of what we see over in Crab Island, but it is at a smaller scale, at least today.
That's funny.
Bad in hell. So listen, the backstory on that's so good.
The peanut finger
So I'm out
comment
there.
is
I'm
great.
setting my shit up at like, I don't know, man. He comes out there and he's got like, I thought they were I thought he was a sheriff too. So like when I was talking in my documentation, when that all got done, I swear to God, I was like, why does he have a camera? They're like, yeah, we're from ABC News. I was like, what just happened? And then I didn't even realize who that guy was. I didn't know what a county commissioner was. I didn't fucking know any of this stuff, man.
You didn't even know you were going to be on the news. You thought you were just getting pulled over.
No, I was, and so like I'm giving them my stuff. I'm like, take all of my shit, and they're like, no, this is a hit piece.
You're
dude.
trying to hand your documents to the news anchor.
Yeah, and so like it's funny. So I was like, people get killed at Crab Island, man. Like my whole business model was like I didn't want to give them jet skis and just have them run off. Like I wanted to watch them, man.
Yeah.
Like I just, you know what I mean? Like the safety thing is like a real fucking thing for me, and it's been that way since I started. So I actually went to the meeting, and they're like, they banged their gavel, like, you can't be out at those islands anymore. And so I'm trying to talk to the guy because I'm like, dude, my business is over.
Yeah.
You know, so the side note to this is so good. So the Crab Island's in Destin, Florida, right? And so I get to this county commissioner meeting or whatever, and like, this is on TV, all of this shit. I don't even know. I get there, and there's just all these, like, they got like pitchforks and fucking, get out of there, and get man with the tattoos, get them out. And I'm just like, and I got all this like very well thought out, like, oh, it's good for, safety and tourism, and it's going to be a great thing for our community.
Yeah.
And they're just like, Kevin ONeil defecates in the water. We saw, like, one lady was like, they're out there defecating in the water, and I was like,
my God,
never has that happened ever.
So you weren't doing that.
Okay.
Then, to be clear.
Anyway, this well-dressed, very articulate gentleman gets up, and he gets up there, and he's like, gentlemen of the council, it's me, Parker Destin. And I was like, did that guy just say his last name was Destin? I was like, God, get out of here. Was Steve Florida not available? I'm like, come on, man. General Okaloosa not around? Parker Destin? And he's like, and I stand. And then he put out like a flyer because he was running for council, and he's like standing it with his arms folded in front of the islands like, I hate Kevin ONeil. And I'm like, I had no idea. So I went to this one councilman's office, the only one that would meet with me. And I said, look, man, I'm servicing like 50 people out there because the same thing, right? Going back to the podcast is scalability.
Yeah, sure.
Like I knew that I could just keep on like bringing people out to the island, run the business, have one boat, 3 jet skis, charge per head, and it was scalable. And eventually I could get a head boat and then yada, 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 and we could just keep on growing. I didn't want to we have 30 boats today and 15 skis or something like that. But that's exactly what I told him. I said, look, man, I service X amount of people. The amount of people it's going to take to service, the amount of boats, rather, and jet skis is going to take the amount of service that people. Now, instead of 1 boat, 3 skis, you got 5 boats and 5 skis. I was like, which I'll gladly rent them, man. If you want them to go out there and, I'll throw in a free case of beer and send them back over to those islands. And now, guess what? I'm not there watching them. Now they're just over there just getting drunk driving. So I'm like, the reason you guys have a problem, because you have a problem over there, is because of how you guys do business here. And that's like, I'm just trying to do something completely different and what I think is like a better, safer business model.
So you made it past that hurdle, right?
Yep.
Then what happened?
Yeah, so we just started renting them. So my little one boat and 2 skis turned into 30 boats. And, you know, like I said, I think we got like 15 skis today. So, yeah, it was a blessing in disguise. I didn't have to drive a boat anymore. And, you know, but it was, it actually ended up just really working out for the best, because I honestly don't think I'd be here today if they didn't do that, because rentals were just, I didn't, you know, like to a degree, they're not. You have a tipping point to where each boat only makes so much money, you know, like you go to 50 boats, right? Your utilization rate,
the marginal returns get lower and lower, right? Decreasing marginal returns, right?
Yep, absolutely.
There's the cerebral part of this podcast, Kevin.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't read textbooks, Kai.
You're very self-deprecating, Kevin. But it's obvious to everyone listening to you that you're very smart and you've had a lot of success.
I appreciate it.
Seriously.
Yeah. I mean, we're all smart, you know. So.
Except Brett.
What?
Yeah. So
no, Kevin's learned to only pee in the water now.
Yeah, instead of defecate. Yeah. Or if you're gonna defecate, don't do it in front of the commissioner.
That's right.
Yeah. Smart. So it's been a journey, man. I've been really lucky.
So what's the key to scaling each of these businesses? Like, have you found like one thing that has really worked well across the board? Like, what's been the hardest way to, like, what's been the biggest hurdles to get to where you're at, and what's been your biggest successes to get to where you're at?
Oh man, that's a really good question.
What's your secret sauce, Kevin?
It's been like giving people the ability to you know, be leaders inside of our growing organization, and trusting them to make good decisions, and a lot of clear communication between all of us, like constant, rigorous communication, and then just always taking the responsibility. Like always, and then showing them like, hey, you know, like if you manage to muck something up, like what happened in the pipeline that I communicated something wrong to you, and then going like, all right, like where did I make that mistake in the chain of events, and then me taking responsibility, but not just letting them off the hook, going like, oh, it's all my fault. You didn't do anything wrong. But it's like, hey, I could have communicated that a little bit better, or or just having a conversation, like, where do you think that went wrong? Yeah. Or, you know, how do we not get to point A and ended up at point Z or whatever it was? Yeah. So it's honestly just my team. Yeah.
When did you figure out that like you needed to hire extra people? Is it just, you know, you were so busy that you're like, I need someone else? Or like, how do you start growing the team, and when did you start doing that?
Yeah, right from the beginning, I was always very, very aware that every captain's got to have a great first mate, right? And that's not like just a silly. I mean, when I drove a boat, like I was very much aware that my mate, like he made our tips, he made the picture sales, like he made sure we made the money, made sure everybody was strapped up, made sure that the show was rolling. So it was very much a team effort. So I realized that right from the beginning, and back to like trusting my gut, having, you know, seeing people doing weird things, like calling somebody last second, telling them to come in, see what they do, see how they handle it, making them work in the rain, something like that. You know what I mean? Just do weird stuff. Like normally if it's raining, I'm like, oh, let's kick out of here. Let's go get lunch. I want a nice, a great work environment. Obviously, I'm not like, you know, a crazy person, but I just see how they react, you know, and then working right alongside them, showing that I'm willing to do anything that I would tell them to do. And so that was very much ingrained in the genetics of everything that we've done right from the beginning. And then again, like being of service to those people, right? So everything that I've done as far as growing things has always been like, I wanted to keep these people working, right? Yeah. I needed to keep these people working, and we have this lull, and pretty much most of this market just shuts down. They let their people go, and then they come knocking on my door for a job, and they've been, in my opinion, trained the wrong way. I just see all these holes like people have experience. So we hire fresh, and we hire green, and we train from the ground up. Yeah. These ideas were not always like, oh man, like I want to, like, oh man, I'm gonna drive like a Maserati or whatever, you know, sports car. I want to get super rich. It was just sort of like, all right, how can we keep these guys going without just bleeding our labor costs for the sake of bleeding our labor costs? Like, I'll bleed it some to keep everybody going, but like, I think the real beauty of all this stuff is when the people that the people that work for you are successful, and the
Totally.
people that work with you are highly successful. And it's like, I don't know, there's just something about that. Like our ops manager, he's like 24 and he just bought his first house, and that was fucking awesome, man.
Yeah.
Like that was so cool, you know. And I like helped him move.
Yeah.
You know, I was there
Yeah,
like
yeah.
helping carry his stuff out of his truck, and so, you know, like realizing that, you know, scalability just isn't, and it's seldomly ever about money. You know, like I think if it's done right, you know what I mean? Like, yes, of course it's about money. Like, you know, we're watching the leaderboards, but, you know, look at Apple, right? Like Steve Jobs was, I don't even know where he fell on the world's richest, but he was nowhere. He wasn't like even in the top 10, you know, but Apple's worth $3 trillion, you know? So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's about the idea. Yeah. And then hurdles. We got dead space. The biggest hurdles is emotions. You know what I mean? Like getting emotional about stuff, and, you know, worries, and, you know, the stress, like trying to make decisions not based on, like, you know, and obviously money has to come into that, but, you know, it's always a lot. Problems are easier to solve when you have money, as my buddy Steve and my partner Steve always says. So that's sort of the biggest emotional is like a hurdle is like me getting in my own way on stuff, you know, being immovable or getting emotional.
Do you have plans to exit any of the businesses? Like, is that where you're headed to? Do you just enjoy, you know, growing them for now? Like, where do you think this all kind of ends?
I don't know, man. You know,
You just
I'm kind of there with you. Yeah. Like I don't necessarily have an end goal right now. And I've talked about it a couple times on this, but like, I just enjoy the process, you know, and I think like whatever happens is going to happen. And
you know, it's like exit's like a nice, it seems like a nice thing. Like there's a portion of me at the end of every summer, I'm just like, take everything and just, you know what I mean, liquidate it all and sell it and go live in the mountains in North Carolina with Kai and Brett. Are you in North Carolina too, right?
Austin, Texas.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to live there.
There's no mountains here.
Yeah, we got good mountains here in North Carolina.
I always play like the part of like I'm a big conservative. I just love to be like the, you know, like the opposite. I like to troll. You know?
Oh no, you're right about the city for sure.
No, you know, like maybe like honestly, like my dream would be to exit to my employees, to just give it to them. You know what I mean? Like that would be my partners, my employees, and just go like, yeah, you know, because like I don't think like leaving kids. Like I had one guy came on the show and he was like, I want to make $100 million. You know, I was like in water sports.
Yeah.
And I was like, do you ever look at the Forbes 500?
Yeah.
Like, there's nobody, no water sports impresario. You're in the wrong. He was like, you know, like what would be the first piece of advice you would give? And I'm like, well, first talk to someone that's made $100 million because I haven't, you know, and then two, fucking find a different thing. But I think like, and it's difficult, right? The challenge, the big challenge is like, one, you want to do this stuff and like make a nice life for your family and make money, and that's great. But then like you also want to leave them the tools, which is way more important. But then you're trying to juggle both of those things, and sometimes they're like they're in coordination and they're working together, but other times they're in direct opposition to one another.
Totally.
Right? So either you're like just here, or you're there like, you know, trying to be like dad of the year. So
that's a great point. We haven't had someone on with kids yet, but having a family, you know, a wife and kids, and being an entrepreneur at the same time is really hard. You know what I mean? I have 2 kids. Justin's married, but how have you managed it? Do you think it's conducive to the family lifestyle? Has it been tough? You know, what are your tips for making that work with your wife and kids?
Yeah, like there's always like this one part of me that wants to be like super like, oh, we have a schedule and like we're gonna run, like, you know, communication is like the hallmark of all great organizations, and a family is like an organization. And my wife was like, I'm gonna fucking stab you if you refer to our family as the business of running the
turn
family.
Turn it into an LLC.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you can and you should pay your children. I mean, it's a tax.
ONeil LLC.
Great tax. Family trust is obviously great. It's challenging because I have a 16-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 2-year-old, and then all of these different things that I do. And so again, man, I just I'm really lucky where the physical businesses are mostly hands off. I've learned enough, and I've done a pretty good job. Like if I were to put that like in a brokerage or up for sale, like it would meet all the requirements that like private equity, if they were interested in something like that, it doesn't need me. We have a whole list of SOPs. So obviously we pay for that, and the bottom line, it's not like I'm taking like massive K1 draws and buying all sorts of stuff. And but so because we have such a great team that does such a great job, it just comes down to time management, So usually like in the morning, I try and help my wife with my crazy kids. My son is just like me. He is a absolute lunatic. He's actually suspended from daycare this week. Yes, he does. Yeah. He's already committed his first assault.
Mine has too. This month. Yeah, he's on probation from daycare, and they have to do like intervention or something, with a specialist.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I'm with you,
man.
Yeah.
I'm like, smack him upside his head.
Yeah.
I was like, trust me, it does wonders. But yeah, just it's all a challenge, man. You know what I mean? Because you can't be 100% there for everything, for either side of that. You know what I mean? You can't be baseball coach, dad of the year, and be an effective leader like at 100% all the time. So it's like, a big piece of that is sort of like being there for the most important pieces of it, making sure that you're there for the manager meetings, that you make sure that you're watching all the things that you can through automations. I'm lucky where we have a great automation set up. I watch all of our calls come through. We use offshore. So like, again, like our team is we're taught to delegate. So delegate down. So it gives me the freedom to sort of, now with Take My Boat Test is different. I'm very much on the ground with that and making the sales calls. And I'm starting to see a calendar that used to be empty get filled up with calls, man.
Yeah.
And like actual calls that matter, that make money. Yeah. And so that's why I have a studio here in my house, so I can do my stuff from home if I have to, and then I have my office and I can shoot down there and do what I need to do. But, just trying to be present when I can, man, if I can.
The big thing I've learned, it's been tough because when I was single, my business was everything. I eat, sleep, what do you call it? Drinked it, 7 days a week, 80 hours a week, my whole life, and then I got married and had kids. And the biggest problem I had was just turning off my work brain when I was around him, not like totally just being in the zone and not even paying attention to them, not being present. And then finally, the big thing I've learned in the last year is just every once in a while learning to make demonstrations to them that they're more important than work. Like canceling that meeting, that you don't want to do, but making a point of telling them why you're doing it. Like that helps, right? My wife's having a hard day.
Like, what I missed for your birthday party? I could have made 10K, you little bastard.
Kind of. I'm
sure you're rubbing face right.
That's what I mean, though, right? But that's them seeing that and making a point of doing that every now and then actually means something. Like there was last year I had been traveling. I think I flew every week for like 6 straight weeks, and I had a big trip I had to do to New England. And my wife was like, "I need you. I don't want you to go." And I was like, I can't cancel it. I got to go up there. And literally, I was about to get on the plane. I turned around, went back, Ubered back home, and said, "You're right.
That's awesome,
I'm going to stay." And I sent Christina instead. But anyways, that's I've been learning to deal with it. And that's a couple quick little lessons I learned about it. It's just learning to be present, like you said. And then also sometimes saying no to work and being there for them if they really need you, and make sure, like I said, not rubbing their face in it, but you communicate, I'm doing this for you guys. It's a way of showing them you are more important than work, even though I always tell them like, hey, this is what pays the bills. I got to work. You want this house because if I stop working, it's going to go away.
Yeah, I've said similar, man. It's and that's that's the trick, right? Because like we're not just like when you talk about like a life of scale. You know what I mean? Not just an economy of scale or a business of scale, but a life of scale. And because it is incredibly difficult, to try and do all the things and make all the things and go see life. Like we're all in tourism, right? So at some point, like we all were inspired and impassioned by travel. I think like that's why we're all in this business, because we wanted to. Like Justin, I see your Instagram and I see your posts, and it's like, dude, Man, I know you're not just like, oh, clear kayak business. Like, I know you love, like, you have, like, I feel like you have, like, a deep love in the nature, I would assume. Yeah. And, I mean, seeing where you go and spend when you do get away and you spend your time. And, I mean, Kai, you're a maniac. I feel like you're in the office way too much.
You're like, I don't see your Instagram stories.
But I feel like, I don't know. I
just don't post about it.
All right. I mean, you were like this wasn't like tour scale. This wasn't like, you know what I mean? It wasn't just like a business concept. No. I'm assuming it was like you love travel, and that's
I love experiences and I love people, Yeah. And so I started the Trolley Pub because it was a business that I would have loved to use for myself. And I'm an entertainer. I love making people happy, right? And so yeah.
Dude, wait a minute. Hold on.
Oh no.
No, I keep this, man. I keep this here. Like this is not. That's not just like. That is just like. That
Wait,
is.
Let's see if it shows up. Yeah. He's got a paperweight with my face on it.
That's funny.
Yeah, I thought it was like the funniest, coolest gift, man. So
that's hilarious.
It sits in my office next to my Tupac.
Christina, my assistant, she was thinking. I said, let's come up with a good gift for him, and I thought, you know what, we should get him. Let's get him like a cheesy crystal hologram of my face to put on his desk, and like the most like glamour shot photo we can find.
I'm just glad you had a beard.
Kai, Christina messaged me and was like, so Kai told me to get this for Kevin. Was he being serious? Like, I said, pull the trigger, Christina.
I love that kind of stuff.
But you know what?
Man,
yeah, I would love to have a crystal hologram of your face, Kevin, on my desk.
I'll try and get you like I don't even know how like mail works, man. I mostly, I do. I'm just like, just have them, such and such do it. But
that's a nice gift.
It is. I really like it. I think it's just like a part of the story, the whole thing. Like one day, like I'll be like dead and gone. And somebody will come across that, and they'll just be like, "Who is this guy?"
Story to it.
So
some guy that's your dad.
The Get Up and Scale gift for being on the podcast is actually like a big alarm clock with like Gary V music on it to wake you up, so you just get up in the right mindset.
He makes music.
No, I just he has some.
No,
he doesn't.
No.
It'd be awesome if he
did.
He
should.
I got a couple quick last questions for you, Kevin, before we let you go.
Yeah, sure.
One, any systems that you've put in place that have really helped that you wish you put in place sooner?
ERS, entrepreneur. Right? Is that ERS? Is that what is it?
EOS.
EOS. Yeah, Gino Wickman, entrepreneurial. No, I would never pay for that for anybody. Like, hey man, you want to give me $50,000 so you guys can have 75 meetings a month?
We do EOS.
No thanks.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure you do.
Pretty sure it was free.
It was EOS was
you
free.
Just read the book.
Was it an implementer
you
like $30,000 or something?
Just read
like
the book.
I did. Yeah. I
we
did.
figured it out.
Yeah. I mean, like, so we have our own sort of like. So one thing we did was we had everybody write their own SOPs. So I gave everybody in our organization, I'm like, you do X, Y, and Z. I want standard operating procedure on it. So like we have SOP for our sales process, for our marketing, and then we obviously, even for like a small business, sometimes I feel like it's a little bit much, right? Because we are a small business, but. Just making, like EOS type SOPs. We use Go High Level for our automations. We use CallRail for our tracking. I mean, Go High Level's been awesome. I will say that having somebody to run it, like my one business partner he's like an engineer, so he loves software. Yeah. So I would say that Go High Level and having like a very good understanding of it as a CRM, having a good CRM in place, and just having good practices, man, making sure that everybody knows what their marching orders are. Again, this stuff isn't second nature to me, you know? So it's like, if we're going to have a meeting, I'm going to make sure we have like the agenda. So we're not just, you know, EOS type stuff, but I've read so many books, man, like so many different business books. It's like, oh, that's a good idea. I'll implement this. This is a good idea. I'll implement that. But I love GHL. Go High Level and having somebody actually implement it correctly has just been awesome. You know, that we catch anybody that calls and we can't. If we can't get them booked up, to get their information into our CRM so we can continue to market to them. It's just been a game changer. I really like it. Yeah.
Two more quick ones. What's more important, sales or marketing?
Man, that's so difficult because I feel like I gave a sales presentation because I'm always like, I've got pegged as being the sales guy or whatever. But the reason I talk about it so much is I think that sales is just a byproduct of good communication, right? So when somebody calls up Destiny Water Adventures and they're like, hey, you know, how much is your boat? And I'm like, oh, when are you coming? Oh, we're going to be here Saturday. How many people do you have with you? Oh, there's 8 of us. Awesome. Where are you guys coming from? And we have a conversation, right? So it's like, I think sales and marketing are both, they're both tentacles of the same animal. Yeah. And that's really good communication. And so I think if you're doing things the right way, then your sales and your marketing work hand in hand. And that communication and that message runs across all spectrums. But if you like gun to my head, marketing, because I can scale marketing, because I can get that message out at scale. Yeah. Get up and scale.
There you go. Nice.
Love it.
Yeah, and then last one I got for you is higher price point or more add-ons?
More add-ons.
Yeah.
I mean,
get them in the door.
1,000%.
Fleece them.
Yeah, dude. Like, I mean, I would have a measuring contest of my cart value versus any of my competitors we have a great offer, man. And then, you know, and then the incentives to our staff, like, man, like upsells get me excited, dude. Like we built like a little retail location because I was like, man, you're answering phones and you're doing X, Y, and Z, and like, yeah, we have a whole retail at our beach location that we built right there because I'm like, oh man, like, because if I can sell something for 10 cents and get $1 out of it, like that's much more exciting to me than a $1,000 product that with that I pay $900 for. Like, don't get me off profit versus profitability. Like like Greg and I were just talking about this the other day. Yes, we're going to make $100, but it's like, man, if I can just figure out, right, and my marketing's right, if I can figure out how to sell 1,000 of those pencils, and it's like, it's much more exciting to me. I love margins. So anything that I can tack onto that, whether it be like damage, and not to keep this whole thing going, but I've really learned a lot doing the B2B sales, because I've made a lot of assumptions about operators, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like so wrong about things. Like, well, I mean, I'm wrong about I think you should probably know. You don't, because they call me up. We did this thing and they're like, our test is a little bit more expensive than our competitors, but we offer a higher commission, right? And I'm like, this makes sense, man. If you put out 1,000 tests, that's an extra $2,000 right in your pocket. Who's going to say no to that? The operator who's like, well, at the test is $14, and what if they shop that around, and what if they don't rent the jet ski? And I'm like, why are you talking to them about a jet ski test when you're still trying to close them on a jet ski? Like, that should be post facto, man. Like, you should like get them on the jet ski. Like, if you're like, and make sure you show up 45 minutes before for your jet ski test, and like you haven't gotten their credit card information. I'm like, oh my God, man. Like, okay, this whole conversation just changed. You need to hire me as a consultant before you take on our boat test, because you guys you're way all over the place. And I'm like, it's definitely, I mean, man, like how many of them don't even use ResTech? Like in Clearwater and like Tampa and Lauderdale. I'm just like, there's this whole world where I'm like, all right, don't sign up for the boat test. I need you to sign up to the podcast first. Like,
Yeah, right.
Let's just get you going on there. They're like Zapier connection, and I'm like, oh god, man, all right, okay, all right, no big deal.
Kevin, we definitely want to have you back on one day to talk sales, B2B and B2C. You really built an empire.
Give me another year.
We'll give you time
on the B2B. Yeah, give me a B. Yeah, give me 10 years.
Man, I had the Kevin button ready for today, but I didn't have to use it much. I didn't have to use it too much, so I appreciate that. But man, it was really good having you, dude. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, of course, man. And congratulations on the pod, and let us know if there's anything we can do to. Yeah, we got to bring you guys on.
Yeah, we'll go on as a trio or duo, you know.
Well, yeah, but I didn't want to, you guys like announced it. It was
today.
That what the whole we extended. Oh, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
You're announcing it today. Yeah, so we didn't want to be blah blah blah, and burst your bubble or let the cat out of the bag on anything like that.
Thanks,
so
man.
yeah, we'll definitely bring you guys on and do this again, man. I really thank you guys truly for having me. It's an honor, man. I got nothing but respect for all of you guys.
Same here, buddy.
Yeah.
Thanks,
you, man. You're a legend.
Yeah, man. You too. Thanks again, guys.
I gotta work, grind. That's just the way it is. I gotta get